everybody, it's me again. I wanted to share with you today some of the reasons that we tend to fixate on things that, seem really silly, things that we know that we shouldn't fixate on and that we don't even need to be having feelings about. And yet, here we are, fixating and thinking about it, worrying about it, and having a fit about it. And then self-medicating with food and alcohol and everything we can get our hands on to distract ourselves from, feeling the feelings that are coming up that we know we don't really need to be having, that don't make any sense on a logical, conscious level at all. And so, one of the first things that you need to know about why we fixate on the stuff that we do is because our brain is trying to protect us. So our brain tends to watch for things in the past that have bothered us, that have harmed us in some way, that upset our parents when we were growing up. And our brain just constantly, subconsciously, watches for anything that seems similar to that to happen. So it's just constantly looking for, what could possibly harm me? What could possibly bother me? What could possibly do some damage to me? Now, this was a fantastic thing, great feature for us humans to have when there were threats to our lives all the time. When we were cavemen, when we were nomads, when there was an actual physical threat to our well-being and our livelihood and our survival. So our subconscious mind was constantly on the lookout for, are there predators coming? Is there someone coming to take my stuff? Is there someone coming to steal my wife? And we were programmed to look for that all the time, and that's good. That's awesome. But that's not what we need now. And unfortunately, our brains still work the same way now that they do then. Only now we're reacting to stupid things people say on Facebook, or, the silly thing our mother-in-law said and wasn't even thinking, and we just fixate and fixate and fixate, and we keep thinking about it because some part of us perceives that as a threat. So our subconscious mind sees that, it goes, oh, that's a threat, that's there to hurt us, that's after us, it's going to attack us. And it's usually because of something that's happened in our past that was similar. So our subconscious mind saw something like that happen in the past. We didn't like it, it didn't have a good outcome. And so now when something even remotely similar happens, all these bells and whistles and alarms go off, and oh, we better get all worked up about it. So no matter how much conscious work you do about that, no matter how much you explain it away or say, oh, well, that person doesn't know any better, or they had a hard life, or I need to forgive them, that's all lip service. That's just, us basically trying to explain things away and understand why things are happening. That's not going to stop the subconscious from freaking out. It's just not. Unfortunately, you're going to have to do a little bit of deeper work in order to get the subconscious to stop freaking out about things. There's a really interesting couple of examples of threats that, just really don't make a whole lot of sense that can set people off. One example that I've heard is, if you are a witness to a robbery, so you're in a convenience store and there's a robbery going on and it's very frightening and it's a violent thing, or, very scary. If you're standing there in an aisle and up on the aisle is this orange bottle and it's out of the side of your eye and you're not even consciously aware of this orange bottle that's over here, later on, years later, you could be standing somewhere in a similar situation, see an orange bottle over here out of the side of your eye, and start having a panic attack and not know what it's about, what's triggering it, anything like that, and it just comes on. In order to deal with that, you've got to deal with it on the subconscious where that trigger is held. So this is really about going back to all of our traumatic moments and clearing them with subconscious techniques. And that's kind of what I do with people. And I did a video last week where I was showing people a way to deal with simple emotions, things that are bothering you in the moment, where you can just kind of tap on your knees while you really think about that memory, that problem, that emotion. But I do suggest, if you're working on deep, super huge traumas and things that you do it with someone's support. But if you're working with something that's more on the mild side, something you know is kind of ridiculous, you can basically just kind of tap on your knees or do some kind of bilateral stimulation while you think about that problem in order to get it down a few notches so you can deal. But I would suggest going a little deeper, you know, maybe with somebody who can help you out, me or someone else that does maybe EMDR, PS tech work, something like that. Another example that I've seen is there was a person who suddenly in childhood had really strong anxiety, and it just kind of lifelong after that point, inexplicable, constant anxiety that just showed up at a certain point in their childhood. And it was finally traced back to seeing maybe one of the Indiana Jones movies or something where there was a nuclear explosion. And while that was not something that happened to that person or in that person's presence, it was just something they saw on a screen as a child, forever after that, their subconscious mind was ever looking for, when is my life going to explode? When is something bad going to happen? When is that explosion really going to happen in real life? And just freaking out all the time and holding on to that trauma. And it was all subconscious. She had no idea that it was coming from that movie. And it took some work with a professional to figure out that root so that they could clear it. And her anxiety went away after they did that. And, you know, I see this all the time. I have a client who, you know, couldn't stand her boss. And she just, you know, her boss drove her nuts. And I said, okay, so what is it about your boss that really pushes your buttons? You know, what does he do? What does he say? How does he behave? And that was, you know, she kind of looked back and thought about it. And, you know, she was saying, you know, he was really demeaning to women. He talked down to people. He was really demanding. And so I asked her, you know, who from her history treated her that way or treated people she cared about that way? And I asked even, did your dad do that? And yes, that was the case. That was, you know, one of the behaviors that really bothered her about her dad. And even a couple of her exes had kind of had some of those personality quirks as well. So when we cleared that for her, at her dad, at her exes, and at her boss, all of that together, then she was free of the trigger and she could deal with her boss without getting all emotional and getting all angsty and icky about it. So all of this happens on a subconscious level. We're not going, ooh, my boss reminds me of my dad and I can't stand that. It's just my boss really makes me feel disempowered and he makes me feel angry and he hurts me. And, you know, there's usually a reason for that. So if you can look to your past, that's usually where it's hiding. And it's just your subconscious mind trying to protect you, but there are ways to get out of it. So I do have a webinar that you can watch, a free webinar, that'll teach you more about all of that and the different aspects of life that the subconscious tends to work with, you know, to kind of throw off course for you, even though it's trying to help. So I will put the link in comments to that webinar if you want to check that out. It's like a half-hour long. And also you can go to it at apriladams.org/emotion and sign up for that as well. So I'll put that in comments. Feel free to share this if you feel like anyone you know could benefit from learning this information, but I look forward to hearing, you know, all of your feedback on this. And thanks everybody for watching. I saw a lot of people commenting, but I was too busy talking my head off to comment back. So love you guys. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.